Hi, my name is André and I'm a career counselor at Aalborg University. In this video, I'm going to show you some tools that you can use to make a simple stakeholder analysis. This analysis can be used when you want to find collaboration partners for a project. It can be for an internship or maybe even for a job. So the idea is that you have a problem area, something that you'd like to work with. You'd like to find someone to collaborate with outside of the university, but you're unsure about who that might be. So when in doubt, ask the internet, and this is where I will show you some relevant tools. Of course, you can always try to just go to whatever search engine you usually use, Google, Bing, whatever, and then try to search for some of the relevant key terms in this problem area. But here I will show you some tools that you might not look to yourself if you weren't showed the door. So we will start by looking on LinkedIn. First, we need a problem area. So we will be talking about or try to look into the issue of vulnerable children, and specifically vulnerable children to parents who are addicts, or vulnerable children who are in environment or societies around addicts. So something about addiction and vulnerable children or vulnerable young people. So let's try and do this. So we go to LinkedIn, and then we just go to the regular search bar up here in the top, and we can try to put in addiction as a keyword first. So of course, before doing this exercise or this drill, you will have to think about what are the relevant keywords to the things I'm trying to find here. So what LinkedIn does is that it gives us an overview of all the searches it can do. It gives us an example of some people, what they are talking about, who is using the hashtag addiction, what sort of posts are talking about addiction, and so on. But it's just an overview, so it could make sense to look into the specific categories. So we could try to click for people. We are not looking necessarily for people, but the idea with looking for people on LinkedIn is to, if we can find people who is working with addiction, in this case, then we can see where these people are working with sort of organizations, and then we know what organization to contact. But that being said, if I find someone who is really an expert within the field, or it looks like it's actually this person I need to talk to, then why not reach out also via LinkedIn? But let's see what comes up. Just searching for addiction, we find Layla, who is at the Center for Addiction and Mental Health. It sounds actually relevant for what we want to do. We find Bent here, who has the skill addiction recovery added to his profile. So this is why he is being found. We can see that he's a head of section for something called sundhed in Danish, so health in English. And we will have to click into his profile to find out what organization he is in. And then it just goes on. So this is sort of a trial and error exercise. You will need to do some searches, and then you need to browse through the profiles to see what can be relevant. So going through all of these tools I want to show you, it's a good idea to have a pen and a paper next to you, or open a document on your computer so you can make notes along the way. Each time you find an organization that is relevant or find a person who is relevant, then make sure to type it down. So that's actually the main part of the drill here, to end up with a list of relevant companies, relevant organizations, and maybe also relevant people actually. So we can see there are different ways people can be found with this keyword addiction. It can be because of the headline on the profile. It could be because of a skill that someone has added. It could be because of a text here. This is some of his work experience. Doing a TED talk. The talk was about my research on addiction. So maybe Casper Smith is also someone you should look into. He's actually a professor or assistant professor at Aalborg University, so he's actually very local and maybe easily to get a hold of, and so on. So various reasons for various places in the profile where we can find the word addiction. So if we want to, this is just a broad search on addiction on all of LinkedIn worldwide. So we can narrow this down in two ways. We can add another keyword. So if I just add another keyword, it will be searching for addiction and whatever keyword, or actually an or, so meaning it will find addiction or whatever word I put in. But if I wanted to find both keywords, I can say addiction and family and children, or what I want to add. and it needs to be with capital letters. Oh, there we go. So now I'm making sure the machine is searching for profiles who have both addiction and children mentioned in their profile. And again, we can look into people and so on. Another way of narrowing down the search could be by putting on a location. So right now we're just searching all of the internet, but if we want to find a collaboration partner for a project, maybe we want a more local partner. So why not put in Denmark? Show results, then the results will be different. And now we're down to 186 results, which is people on LinkedIn who is based in Denmark and who has addiction and children mentioned in their profile somewhere. Not necessarily combined, but yeah, in their profile nonetheless. So there's a chance that they will be working with addiction and something around children. And again, this is the trial and error part. It's an iterative process, so you need to find out what is the good keyword when you go to browse through them. Yeah. Again, we actually have here Nikolai Engel, who is past, so his past work experience is international volunteer at IVHQ. So that's an organization you could note down and maybe look up later. Working with vulnerable children with severe drug addiction. So it's not necessarily their parents who are addicts like we were looking for, but it's still something about children and addiction. So they will know something about the topic. So it might be worth looking into. And that's the whole idea here. So you might stumble upon some really good stakeholders that you could invite into your projects. That's the whole idea, that you stumble upon relevant data or relevant information here because you don't know where to start looking. So this is a place to start looking. So you can narrow down by using multiple keywords. You can narrow down by location. And another thing is that besides searching for people, it could also be relevant maybe to search for posts. So have anyone been posting anything on LinkedIn relevant to what we're searching for? We saw earlier that there was a hashtag addiction. You could try searching for that and so on. So see what comes up. And again, not to find the specific post, but if you find a relevant post, you can see who has been posting that and where are they working. So again, it can give you some relevant insights into what is, what are people talking about and who's working with these sorts of topics. And this can go on. So now we're just searching for addiction and children. We could also search for vulnerable children. We could search for parents with addictions or keywords like that. Again, it's a trial and error process. And again, try to check out some of the other categories here. You could search for companies who has these words mentioned in their descriptions. Companies is a broad term, so it could also, under companies, you would also find like NGOs and other organizations. You could try to search for groups and see if there are groups working with these issues. We have addict moms, addiction professionals, and so on. So there are actually some relevant groups that you can again tap into and see who is in here. Is there anyone here who can help me in terms of finding relevant collaboration partners? Yeah. Events, courses, just try out the different categories, see what comes up. Maybe this could lead to new keywords that you could try out. So again, here we have the Institute of Families, Parenting and Children. So maybe you think, well, maybe I should try to add the keyword family, something with family and addiction. I wonder what comes up. And again, the rabbit hole just continues. So that's maybe a different way than you are used to of using LinkedIn as a tool to gain knowledge. So this has nothing to do with your profile, but of course you could get some ideas to how you can work with your profile afterwards, but that's not the point here. Another tool I will use show you is the Danish job database called Jobindex. So you just go to jobindex.dk and then choose the site in English, of course. And here we can find job offers. And again, we can try and search for keywords. But the great thing about this job portal is that it doesn't only have the current jobs, but they also keep all the old jobs in an archive that goes back all the way to 2007. So I can actually find old jobs and again, the idea is not to find the jobs, but the idea is to find the companies who have had the jobs posted, because if they have a job concerning vulnerable children or addiction within families or whatever, it would mean that this is something they are working with, and that's why there will be a relevant stakeholder to your project. So we will look at how we can activate the archive, and then also remember here that now we are looking into a Danish job portal. So that means that, of course, we can try and use the English terms and search for them, but on a Danish job portal, most people post the jobs in Danish. So you could try to find the Danish equivalent of the word and try and put that in to see what comes up. But let's try and put in addiction just to see what comes up in this search database. And we find 2 current jobs matching the position. If we try the Danish equivalent, which would be misbrug, we can see we'll have 101 jobs matching that search. So just to show you that by using only English terms, you actually filled out a lot of relevant information. So this could also be a good way of practicing your Danish. But let's try to keep to addiction, just to show you that currently there's only 2 jobs. They could still be worth looking into, because we get an idea that there's actually a department at Copenhagen University researching something about addiction. So maybe, again, it could be relevant to your project. But if you scroll down, then to the left, you find a button here called Help for Applying Unsolicited. And when you click this button, it activates the archive. So now, instead of only 2 job posts, we have 32 organizations which throughout the time have had jobs posted containing the word addiction. So now you just have a huge list, and you get the idea about what kind of organizations we're talking about. We have We Shelter and Mindway, so probably some kind of sounds NGO-like. Then we have municipalities, a lot of municipalities. So municipalities is a big stakeholder in this. We have DRC, which I'm quite sure is short for Danish Red Cross. So they are also a stakeholder. We have some private companies. We have some universities. And so on. And you can find all the jobs. So not only can I see the organizations, I can see Greenland's municipality here have had a job. So let's try and see that job. So sometimes, again, it's trial and error, swing and a miss. Sometimes there's an error in the database, or sometimes it can be hard to find out why did this job come up. But here's actually quite clear, because it's a job post in Danish, but actually they have put in the sentence here that they are looking for a Danish addiction counsellor. So that's why it comes up. So now you've also learned that there's something called an addiction counsellor. Then you could try and search for addiction counsellor on Job Index, or maybe go to LinkedIn again, try and search for addiction counsellor, see where these kind of counsellors work. And also it seems like there's a short for this called DAC. So maybe that's also something you could try and search for. So again, see it as an iterative process going back and forth between the different relevant tools. And to understand this job post, you would need to translate it. That's how it is looking for job posts in the Danish job market. But I hope you can see the idea of Job Index here. We don't want to find jobs. We want to find the organizations that posted the jobs. And already here we have a list of relevant organizations in all of Denmark working within this field. And now this was just searching for addiction. You could also search for vulnerable children. You could search for addiction within families, or whatever you want to try out. And again, remember to try also the Danish equivalent of the word. So the last thing I will show you is a company database. So in Denmark, all companies and organizations have to be registered as a rule. So this means that we can find all the companies. To find the company database that I will suggest to you now, you need to go to the university library's webpage and then search for this keyword, so to speak, this phrase in the search bar. Names and numbers, it's called. So in Danish, navne og nummer. And you need to search in Danish because the database is called navne og nummer, names and numbers, but it's called in Danish. So find that, click that, and click the link to the page. And then when you come to the page, you can choose to see the page in English. And that's why I'm suggesting this company database. There are various databases you could use, but most of them are only in Danish. This one is actually also available in English. And then like before, you can put in a keyword. You can search here for all sorts of different company information. You can search for company name. You can search for postal codes, specific cities, all sorts of different things, what number of employees they have, financial information, and all sorts of specific details. For this purpose, it's enough to just search for company name. And of course, not all companies working with addiction have addiction in their name, but those who do probably also work with addiction. And then again, being a Danish database of Danish companies, it would make sense to use the Danish keyword. So we use misbrug, which is the Danish word for addiction. And then we try to click search. And we can see that we actually find 3,167 companies or organizations, and that is a lot. So we both find like NGOs, free from addiction, it could be called in English, fri af misbrug, and so on. Some of the companies you find here will probably be consultants working only for themselves, so a one-man company. You can sort them out by going back and say you only want to see an organization with more than 10 employees, for instance, and then see what comes up on the list. So again, use it for inspiration, and if there's something that looks interesting, sometimes there's a direct link to their webpage, and otherwise you will have to go and search out the organization in whatever search engine you use, and then, again, become wiser on it. You can also try put the name into LinkedIn, see what comes up, what sort of people are working there, what are they working with, and so on. So 3 different ways to find stakeholders for your project. LinkedIn as a very broad search. We have JobIndex as a job database where you can find both current and old jobs concerning the issues you're working with. And we have the company databases, which is a huge, really great tool in Denmark that we can use. So I hope this is helpful to you, and I hope that you get a good overview of stakeholders concerning your project, and that it is helpful to find good collaborators. Good luck.